Salutations Rangers, General Bradley 101, back again with some more lore. Ah yes, the Primarchs. The Primarchs are truly unique in Warhammer 40k. Not exactly gods of the universe like the Emperor or the Ruinous Powers, but far and above Space Marines and even the mighty Adeptus Custodes. Truly they are the most unique characters in all the setting, with no other faction coming close to them in any way, shape or form, aside from their own deities. While there are many things that make Primarchs so special, one of them has to be their Primarch abilities. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering every single one of them in great detail. Where exactly are they? Are they really overpowered? How does it affect their story? Are they related to the warp? And do their legions have access to them? All this and more in today's episode. Right, so as per usual, we're going to be going in order, starting off with the First Legion, and the Lion. Now you see, the Lion is interesting. The Lion is connected to the Forest. Now the Forest is some type of alternate dimension. It's another realm. It's not exactly on our mortal plane, but we do know that it's not part of the warp. In fact, it seems to be an anti-warp, if something, as we know that creatures from that realm, such as the Watchers, have an innate ability to block out psychic damage and psychic presence. We also know that the Lion and his legion are incredibly resilient to anything related to the warp that includes chaos. Hence why Dark Angel librarians often struggle in sometimes when compared to other legions, and the Dark Angels themselves have a unique type of resistance. They're not exactly blanks by any stretch of the imagination, but they can handle it way better than normal Astartes. And the Lion, well, the Lion is just something else. The Lion has a unique type of resistance to all type of chaotic warp-based nonsense for one reason or another. Indeed, it's come to a point that it surprised even other warp-based entities when the Lion simply is just like, no you, Lamau. And part of that is because the Lion is seen as an apex predator, not just by warp demons but by everybody. The Lion is unstoppable. The Lion is relentless. The Lion is a destroyer. Whilst most people think of Leman Russ as the Emperor's guard dog, the Emperor's executioner, Leman Russ is when you want to send a message. The Lion, however, the Lion is when you want said thing to be erased, eradicated, gone. You want nothing to remain. Not even a message, not even a gravestone, nothing. You want that to be annihilated. We also know that the Lion has the ability to forest walk. Essentially travel through that dimension. It's kind of like a teleportation, kinda, not really. I like to think of it as using it kind of like the webway. Of course it's not the webway, but it's something similar. He's able to translate from this dimension, travel through the webway, and just like Nether in the Minecraft, pop out a billion blocks away, whilst in reality only moving a few in the Nether. Wait, is the forest kind of like Minecraft End? But all of this does come at a cost, and you'll notice each one of these powers and prowesses do indeed have some type of negative drawback, no matter how minor. And for the Lion's case, it makes him incredibly distrustful and paranoid. You see, when Lion was a wee lad, for the first 6 years of his life, the Lion was basically stuck in a battle royale against every single goddamn warp-based fuel entity, monstrosity, chaotic rubbish that was on the planet. He was stuck in the forest, and everything wanted to kill him. It is believed that during this time, he encountered the forest. Now from here, one of two things happened. Either one, he already had all this juice within him, and when he encountered the forest, it just came to life, or whatever was in the forest chose the Lion. And then it melded with whatever the Emperor did with him, thus giving the Lion that we have in modern day 40k. But both of those just hearsay. Honestly, we really don't know, and we most likely will never know what happened during those 6 years. But regardless, the Lion does not like people. He does not trust anybody, and we can see that during the heresy, this caused him massive fucking problems. Now it is something he's trying to get better at in modern day 40k, and to his credit, he's shown some hella character development, I'll tell you that much, son. But ultimately, let's sum up the Lion. He has the ability to forest walk, aka traveling via an alternate dimension, sort of akin to teleportation. And he also has a unique resistance to chaotic influences, not just chaotic influences, but anything related to the warp. Now the question is, how do his sons inherit this? Well, basically like every other legion, they have like a sort of lesser power to them. These guys are able to show more resistance to chaotic warp-based nonsense than the standard Space Marine. Again, they're not on the level of blanks by any stretch of the imagination, but they have a leg up on standard Astartes, much like their Primarch. And honestly, I like it for the Lion. It's very fitting. The Lion is the apex predator. He is the destroyer. Purely, wholly, and utterly. And it makes sense that the Emperor would give him something that would wholly and utterly prevent any type of chaotic influences getting a leg up on him. Psykers are incredibly powerful in 40k. There's only two ways to combat a Psyker. You could go down the magic route yourself, and we saw what problems that caused with Magnus, or you could go down the blank route. The Emperor needed something reliable. The Lion may be an asshole, but he's a reliable asshole. And I think his powers show that. But from the vaunted sons of the First Legion, let's take a look at the third now, with everyone's favorite pretty boy, Fulgrim. Fulgrim is interesting. Of course, Fulgrim is rather obsessive, and he loves to pursue perfection. He has to prove it to himself. Fulgrim has one hell of an inferiority complex. Bro is insecure as hell. He doubts himself at every turn, and he has imposter syndrome to boot. Thus, he has to be perfect at everything, every single thing. And the funny thing is that he is good at every single thing. Fulgrim possesses the uncanny ability to simply just be good at something. He can pick something up and he can learn it. Be it craftsmanship, bladesmanship, organization, learning. He's not the very super uber best at it, but he's really good at everything he does. I mean, we can take a look on his World of Chemos. He rose to the ranks not by conquering everybody, but just simply by being a good foreman. He was able to streamline everything and do everything. When there was combat that was rare, he trounced people immediately. He was an amazing politician with his marriage pacts. He united the whole world by doing everything all at once at the same goddamn time. He was him. Bro was him. Period. Straight up. But ironically, that's what caused his fall. You see, Fulgrim was super good at everything, but he wasn't great at everything. Homie had A+ all over, but not a single S. And that is something that really irked him. Because again, Fulgrim had an imposter syndrome. If he's not the very best all the very time, he is nothing, the worst of the worst, and worth less than dog shit. To him, he had to be perfect. If he wasn't perfect, he was utterly useless. And a failure, not just to him, but to everyone around him. And Fulgrim cares about everybody. And it would be this that would ultimately lead him down to his downfall. He'd doubt himself, so he would seek power that wasn't just himself, and that power would lead him to an altogether worse fate. But something a little bit more tangible, he also has one of the fastest healing / regeneration abilities. Now don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near like good old Dragonite himself, but when you compare it to a normal Primarch, homie can take some hits. Like homie can actually take some hits. And again, with Fulgrim's power, I believe that it's very well suited to his character. Fulgrim was meant to be the jack of all trades guy. He was meant to be able to do good at everything. You put him down in any situation and he will thrive. And I feel like his healing regeneration goes into that. He's not immortal, but he can recover way quicker than any other Primarch. He's an amazing Blade Master, but he's not the Blade Master of the Primarchs. He's an amazing organizer, but he's not like Rabbout Leman. He's an amazing political guy, but he's certainly not Horus either. Fulgrim was meant to take something and make it good, but not great. And because of this, it would cause him to fall. You see, in Fulgrim's mind, he's good at everything. He's good at everything, but he takes a look at Horus. Horus is the best. He takes a look at Guilliman. Guilliman is the best. He takes a look at Ferrus Manus. Ferrus Manus is the best. At their own unique and individual tasks, they are best. And Fulgrim sees himself and he's like, oh, I'm lacking in this department. I'm not the same. I'm not like them. Everyone has something that they're amazing at, but what do I have? I don't have anything. But he failed to see that his thing that was amazing was the fact that he was good at everything. Ferrus Manus is not a fucking politician. Horus is not a fucking organizer. Guilliman, he is not a fucking melee dude. Fulgrim could make up for every single one of their defaults. He is the literal perfect wingman. The Phoenician, the Phoenix, he's literally the wingman. He is the guy you want on your team. He is the support dude. But he didn't see that. Fulgrim did not realize that his thing was being the guy who's good at everything. The guy who can just slide in and make shit work. The guy who is there for everyone else. He didn't realize that by him not being great at everything, he was exactly what everyone needed. And because of that, it ultimately led to him falling, because he couldn't see just how perfect he truly was. Because no other Primarch was like Fulgrim. And again, in terms of the Emperor giving him that power, anyone who's worked on any type of project whatsoever will tell you, having a guy that's good at everything to just fill in slots here and there when someone else is lacking is so important. So again, pretty good. I like it and it makes sense for the character and for purpose. But from the purple boys of the 3rd to the salty iron lads of the 4th, let's talk about Mr. Peter Turbo. Ah yes, Mr. Peter Turbo, the spite mark of the salty boys of the 4th. Now what's on first glance you may think Mr. Peter Turbo's Primarch power is him just being fucking spiteful. And yeah, kinda really, he really is. But, not so. But there is one thing that Mr. Peter Turbo can do way better than being petty and spiteful. And that is simply building something. He is the engineer. If you want to talk about the great 3 forgesmiths of the Primarchs, you have Ferrus Manus, you have Peter Turbo, and you got Papa Vulcan. The thing is though, Ferrus is able to build something that is effective, and he's able to build something that is individual and makes sense. He is all about raw industrial power. Vulcan is a master craftsman. He creates something that is effective but beautiful. He can make the best unique thing ever. But Mr. Peter Turbo, it's something completely different. Whereas Ferrus and Vulcan are all about on the individual or group scale, Mr. Peter Turbo, he's playing 4D chess. He's on the company scale, he's on the battalion scale, he's on the legion scale. If you need something done in mass quantities, in a large amount of people with a short amount of time, if you need that, You call Mr. Peter Turbo. He is one of the smartest Primarchs there is, and you can make a solid argument that he could be the smartest. In terms of wisdom, he's lacking, but in terms of sheer knowledge, Mr. Peter Turbo is up there. He has the innate ability to analyze unique types of things and build scenarios around them. Whilst he may be pretty shit at understanding people in individual situations, when it comes to the grand scale image, no one can beat him. He was able to understand his brother Primarchs as well. Prime example is Stefan. He knew that the salamanders were not gonna fucking move. He knew that the traitors were going to lose men by the scores if they had to pry them off his hill. So, what did he do? He dropped a nuke. Not just one nuke, but 2 nukes. That was not overkill. That solved the problem. As much as the salamanders were amazing, awesome, and defiant, when those 2 nukes fell, the only one who was left was Vulcan. And that's because Vulcan is fucking immortal. And part of this reason is because deep down, he's an architect. He wants to build. He understands how to build. He understands how to create. But because he understands how to create, he knows how to destroy. Because if you can put something together, you know what is the most vital part of it. And if you know what is the most vital, important part, you know what is the weakest part as well. And the part that will kill them immediately. This is called the apex of obliteration. Sanguinius himself gets a taste of it when he has a vision, and he's able to connect with Perty on a psychic spiritual level. And lo and behold, he understands what Perturabo was capable of. And homie's bit shooketh. And honestly, this completes the trifecta for the 3 master builders. Perturabo is all about the big picture. People think Perturabo was created to be a destroyer. Rogul Dawn is the defense guy, and then you have Perty who's the offense guy. This is partly true. You see, his Primarch power was not to be a destroyer, but that's what it ended up being used for, and that's what irked him so much. His Primarch power was to be able to craft on a large scale. If you need planets built, if you need cities created, if you need something to be built up for not hundreds, for not thousands, but for millions and billions, you call Mr. Peter Turbo. He was meant to be a builder. He was meant to raise cities in a day. Rome was not built in the day, but Olympia sure fucking was under Perty. But because he understood how well it was to build something, he understood how to destroy it. And the Emperor used him not as someone to build something up in a grand scale, but to flip it on its head and tear it down in a grand scale. What was supposed to be a creator of massive monuments of humanity became someone who was used to only tear them down and destroy them. Because of this, it led Perturabo to being bitter, because if you were someone who was made to create and all you had to do was destroy, wouldn't you also feel betrayed? Again, it ties into his character so well, and it also ties into his legion as well. The Iron Warriors are siege specialists. They can build massive fortifications that are just mind-blowing, but they kind of lost the sauce as well. All they ever used their stuff for was to build and destroy, but not for the way they wanted. The Iron Warriors could have been a legion of city builders. They could have gone to planet to planet to planet and build it up. You know, people always like to compare Dawn and Perturabo, right? 2 sides of the same coin. But I actually think that a better comparison is Guilliman. Because the way that Guilliman and Perturabo work, could you imagine if they worked together? Guilliman is the master organizer and he understands how to handle the political things and individual situations. Bit by bit, pound per pound. He can handle the minor details. But Rabbout is the master dude when it comes to the big scale pictures. You combine the 2 together, you have Utopia. Ironic that the Roman coded guy and the Greek coded guy combining together make the perfect civilization, but it's food for thought. And to see how all that potential and promise was just turned into bitter, salty destruction, I mean, when you look at it like that, you understand why Mr. Perturabo fell to chaos. Lord knows I do. But from the Iron Fourth to the Laughing Killers of the Fifth, let's talk about the Khan. Alright, Dragonite Khan. Primarch power? Speed. No, literally, the Khan has supernatural speed. Bro is literally the Flash. We literally get a prime example of this when he is fighting the orcs. All of a sudden, one of his most veteran captains and long-term friends dies. Homie loses his shit. He literally orders everybody to back the fuck up, and he literally turns into a tornado of blades. He hacks apart orcs so fast that they scream in terror. So not only can he move like lightning, he's also incredibly hard to read. Dragonite Khan has this unique aura and air to him where you can't really tell what the fuck he's up to. He's very cunning, but not really in the sense that he's backstabby and sneaky, much so in the case of he waits and sees. He doesn't rush into anything. Again, we saw this in the Heresy. You do not know what the Khan is going to do until he shows you. And when he shows you, he's gonna do it so fucking fast that you're not gonna know your head from your ass. Because of these 2 things, with him being incredibly hard to read, and with him being able to move so fast, also with him not really being an arrogant arsehole, people often forget about him. And then this then leads further into his gift. You know nothing about this Primarch. He's going to reveal nothing to you. You can claim nothing from him. And when he actually makes his move, he's going to hit you with such speed, power, and ferocity that you die immediately. The Khan is the hidden blade, unsheathed only when it is needed, and sheathed again so quickly that you can barely see the glint of the flashing steel. Again, with his old character, it fits perfectly. The Khan had a slow start. During the heresy, he didn't pick sides, he didn't jump to conclusions. He took the time to look at everyone, to find out everything, to make a concrete decision first, and when he had all the facts, then he decided. And when he acted with such purpose that he was involved in every single aspect. When they're on Terra, he simply asked Sanguinius, hey, will I save people if I go out? Sanguinius was like, yeah, but I can't see anything else. He's like, cool, no worries. The Khan went running around the Siege of Terra, fucking up motherfuckers left and right. The Khan was such a pain in the ass for the traitors that arguably he allowed them loyalists enough time. In a defensive strategy, it's one thing to just defend, but it's another thing to put the enemy on the back foot. If you can hit their realize, if you can make them panic, if you can make them divert troops, it gives you and your boys more time to prepare. The Khan did that in fucking spades. And again, the Khan does not care about glory. He doesn't care all the fancy shit. He doesn't give a fuck. The Khan gets shit done. He gets it done fast, but he also gets it done efficiently. The Khan does what he needs to do, and he does it so fast that you will never even see him coming. And again, it fits his story perfectly, it fits his legion perfectly. The White Scars go, they get stuff done, and then they're gone. Simple as. The Emperor needed someone who could put out fires. The Khan is the definition of that. Doesn't care about glory, doesn't care about bullshit, he does what he needs to do, he gets it done, and then that's that, and he's back to fucking throat singing and smashing some Dark Elder Coochie. That is what the Khan is. And it fits his character so well. It really, really, really does. But from the Sons of the 5th Legion to the Wolves of the 6th, let's talk about Leman Russ and the Puppy Boys. Ah yes, Mr. Leman Russ, Wolf McWolfy Lord of the Wolf Boys himself. So what is Leman Russ's superpower? Simple, wolf. No, but on a serious note, he has the Wolfen gene, a connection with the Canis Helix. This means that he has superior senses than his brothers. He is literally like a wolf. He can move like one, he can smell like one, he can act like one, he can track like one. All jokes aside, he has the abilities of a wolf, but with all the power of a primal behind it. A wolf is a ferocious hunter. Leman Russ is also a ferocious hunter. The Emperor placed a lot of trust in him because he's like a wolf. He's loyal to a fault, wholly, truly, and utterly, like really to a fault. Homie did not question once when it came to Magnus. He was like, yep, got orders, gonna do it. Not only is he loyal, he's thorough. Say what you will about Russ, when he's told to do something, he's gonna do it done, or he's gonna get his ass kicked. And even then, while he's getting his ass kicked, he's still gonna fucking die trying. He's savage, he's vicious. He will rip and tear and destroy the enemy wholly and utterly if that's what he's commanded to do. He will get it done. Simple as. But this doesn't just exchange to him. He also has this connection with his two wolf pets, or his brothers. He was raised by wolves. Again, that's a little out there, but you know, his wolves, right? We see this connection displayed during his fight with Magnus. Most people don't realize Magnus was winning. Magnus was going to get the gold until his wolves managed to jump for him. His wolves interrupted Magnus just long enough for Leman to get a good swipe in with his sword. Now that's ultimately what turned the tide of the duel. But speaking of warp nonsense, he also has a warp screen that can counter Psychers and their abilities. Now this is interesting. You see, the First Legion, they have like warp defense, anti-warp defense. Leman Russ though, and the Space Wolves, they have more like anti-warp offense. Now, here's the thing. It could indeed be that this is just something built into the genome by the Emperor, but we also know that Fenris has his own stuff. Fenris can indeed make use of Psychers, but they often say, oh, you know, Lamau is the spirit of the planet. But that may not be exactly as bullshit as it sounds. Whilst they're definitely still 100% Psychers, we do know for a fact that there are indeed guards of old Fenris, the most notable being Morkai. We also know that the Hounds of Morkai, a unique unit in the modern day 40k, possess some type of anti-psyker nonsense. These anti-psyker abilities could be a combination of the inherent anti-psychic nature in the Wolfen-based gene seed of the Space Wolves, but it could also be a combination of the anti-psychic nature of the Fenris. Morkai could indeed be some type of warp-based entity, and he could have a hatred for psychers. We also know that Leman Russ was able to scry with some type of runes. The runic writings, the runic etchings, the runic markings, the stuff that the Space Wolves put on their gear is not just for show. It has some type of effect. It can work. It does work, and that's the big thing. This was likely a similar case with the Lion. Both of them have some type of anti-warp based stuff within them, but it's then amplified by their home world. But regardless of that, Leman Russ was created to be a wolf. He is the wolf of the Emperor, loyal, aggressive, devastating, and he will get it done or die trying. And since the Emperor deals with psychic a lot, he has some anti-psychic tools in his toolbox. And again, this represents his sons incredibly well. Space Wolves, loyal to a fucking fault, sometimes a big old pain in the ass, and goddammit sons of bitches can't read. But that's a dog. They act like a dog, and they're the best and worst of it. In addition to how it fits his character, well, perfectly. Leman Russ is a dog at the beginning of the heresy. He's an attack hound. He's launched and he keeps on going and going, he never questions anything, and lo and behold, it leads to him savaging his own legion and destroying another, turning them over to the side of chaos. As we go through more and more of the heresy, Leman Russ slowly begins to understand, like, hey, I gotta fucking think about shit. I can't just be acting like a dog out here. This ain't like it was before. And I believe that when we get him back again, he's gonna go from going into Thor into becoming a warden. Going from the young, savage, snarling attack dog ready to kill anybody to the slow, understanding hound who only bears his fangs when he's absolutely needed. But that's neither here nor there. All in all, made great sense for his character, his legion has it well, and all in all, solid round for the puppy boys. Or from the woof woof bark bark lands of the 6th, all the way up to the wall that is the 7th. Let's talk about Rogul Dawn. Rogul Dawn is a fucking wall. Literally and figuratively. Not only is he a fucking thick slab of brick meat shithouse built into concrete, he's a master of the material realm. What do I mean by this? Well, he can't be tricked. He can't be tricked. He can't be broken. You cannot break Rogul Dawn mentally. We see that he sees right through Alfarius. When Alfarius, who mind you, his Primarch power, little spoiler, is the ability to mask his Primarch scent and create another copy, Rogul Dawn just sees right through him. And he's like, oh, they're there, Lamau. He is pretty much nigh unbreakable. We know that during the Siege of Terror, he's literally transported into another realm and tempted by a goddamn demon, and homie's just like, hey, fuck off. Here's my service record, suck my dick. He is also slightly anti-warp, but not really more in the sense that he has something built in him, more like he's such a fucking prick shithouse that the magic just bounces right off him. Rogul Dawn is the defender. He is the wall, he is the bastion, he is the fortress. He plants his fucking feet and he's like, I'm going to stand here and you are going to fucking cry. But it's not like the other defensive legions, like the Death Guard, where they slowly hold you at bay while your fucking organs melt. Nor is he like the Salamanders, in which case you're going to hit the wall and then get absolutely smoked by a thunderhammer before they slowly advance, burning you and torturing you. The fists are just there. They don't counterattack, there's no great plan, they just sit there and they take it. They don't counterattack, there's nothing, just take it and take it and take it, and eventually they're ground down. Which is why the Imperial Fists are the only original legion that has been destroyed wholly and utterly on multiple occasions. We know of at least 2 confirmed occasions where the Imperial Fists were reduced absolutely to basically no dudes. The most prime example being during the War of the Beast. They are a wall. A wall does not repair itself, a wall does not counterattack, a wall will simply take as much damage as it can before eventually it just breaks. And when that happens, you just repair it and boom, good as new. Simple as. In terms of his legion, well, hell, I already told you, only founding chapter to be destroyed twice. And in terms of his character and his story, Rogul Dawn has to understand that him just being unyielding isn't enough. Yes, he's a bastion, yes, he's a brick shithouse, but that can only do so much. And ultimately, we come to the conclusion during the Siege of Terror, when he realizes that him being a bastion wasn't enough to save the Emperor, and he has to come to terms with that. And again, it fits his character so well. The power integrates with the story incredibly well, and his legion shows it perfectly. He is a wall, a brick shithouse that you cannot move, but you can destroy. He's not the Grim Reaper of Death, inviolable by any means, nor is he the mighty dragon roaring out and lashing out in flames. He's simply just a bastion, and a bastion will stand until eventually you chip at it day after day. It will eventually fall, but it will do its job in preventing you from getting in so long as it does. That's what Rogul Dawn is. And honestly, it fits my little yellow lemon boy really, really, really well. But from the yellow brick building lads of the 7th, let's talk about the bad boys of the 8th, with Conrad Kurz. Kurz has advanced precognition, aka motherfucker can see in the future. Now, this had 2 different kinds of ways. The first one, and the most important in Kurz's character, is that he could see the future, but not really the clear future. He could see very, very, very clear things, but at random weird points of time. He could also see multiple versions of it. For example, he saw his own death. He also saw all the bad shit he would do, but more importantly, when he's on Prospero, he saw the future of a criminal. Now this criminal was basically just like a kid, he was like a teenager, and he saw one of 2 things. Either he would take him under his wing, and he would grow him into a beautiful, amazing, perfect protege who would usher into a golden age of Nostromo, or he would turn out to be a bloodthirsty, ruthless, murderous, butchering killer who would eventually go on to send the world into more blood and slaughter. He had a choice, and Conrad, he picked the safe choice. He killed him. But again, he didn't know which one, but Conrad had to make a decision, and he chose a decision that would guarantee justice and safety, but not exactly happiness and prosperity. Secondly, he can see what people are doing in a fight. Basically, every time he fights against somebody, be it the Lion, or be it Vulcan, he is able to see what they're doing. And he's able to dodge left and right, left and right. Even Leman Russ himself straight up says, yeah, I couldn't really think I could beat him. He can see in the future, so that's kind of bullshit. And when you have arguably the most arrogant Primarch saying like, yeah, no, I don't really think I could take him, you know your shit is very fucking strong. But that's not only else what he has. He has stealth abilities. He's not Korax who can literally fucking turn invisible, but to say that he's able to blend in with the shadows is very, very, very apt. Especially when you consider motherfucker is like 7.5 feet tall, nearly 8 feet. He's not exactly 8 feet tall because he's fucking malnourished from Mao. But he's stealthy for a Primarch. In addition, he has a psychic EMP. Basically, he can release a wave of psychic force that destroys all light, stuns, or kills. He does this a couple times in the books and during the Heresy. It's essentially a blackout ability, but also works on biological beings. But looking at Mr. Curse, it makes sense. The way he sees everything. And when you are someone who has no one but yourself and you are placed with these terrible visions, you will always choose the safe outcome. Curse chose the safe outcome, which wasn't always the good outcome. And because of that, it weighed on his mind, and it drove him to a point where he became mad. Of course, you have the issue with him being stuck on a Stromo, the psychological damage, and the Night Haunter and all that, combined with his own psychic nonsense that went on with it. There's a lot that went on. Conrad had the deck stacked against him, but his own self-loathing went further. He hated who he was. He hated himself, and he hated what he did. But he knew it was necessary, or at least that's what he told himself. And the very idea that it could be anything but necessary, well, that was just something he couldn't handle. Now, how does this relate to his sons? Well, in terms of the psychic vision, a lot of Marines and the Night Lords have some type of psychic nonsense, Tal's Valkorion being the most notable example. But in terms of everything else, I think this is the first time where his Legion doesn't really get the Primarch power. And I feel like that's much more a case of his relationship with the Night Haunter and the Night Lords rather than him and his own Primarch power. The 8th was one of the most hated and disgusted legions, not only by people around them, but by their own Primarch. The 8th was sabotaged from the inside, and Conrad did not gel with pretty much any of his sons, except for maybe like a very, very select few. And I feel like while yes, his Legion may inherit some of his gifts and talents, they didn't really get what it meant to him, nor do they use it like him. But in regards to how it connects with his story, oh, this is perfect. Kurz was meant to be the Primarch of justice, but he saw the cost of mercy, and it scared him. So, he chose the safe option. That safe option made him hate himself. It made him self-loathing and caused him emotional and mental damage to the point where he spawns a second personality of the Night Haunter, foul, wretched, evil. And eventually, it culminates with him driving mad. The promise of what was supposed to be justice and purity slowly manipulated and corrupted into naught but the blackened murderer of terrible night, the death that haunts the darkness. Rather fitting that all that happened on Nostromo, for it seems that even demigods couldn't withstand the vile impact and influence of that most terrible and darkened world. But from the black-winged emo bat boys of the 8th, let's talk to the golden gilded, slightly flesh-devouring Lords of the 9th. Let's talk about Sanguinius, baby. Alright, Sanguinius. Lockmoon here, like a lot. Sanguinius was of course a magic psyker. In addition, he had his wings. But it's important to note, his wings and his flight were warp-based. He could also reach near supersonic speeds. Homing was fast. Not as fast as the Khan, but a pretty good close second. Aside from Magnus, he's probably the most powerful psychic Primarch, period. We can see that in the book Fear to Tread, he literally was able to hold his ship together through his sheer force of psychic will. Homie literally did a Spider-Man from way back when, grabbed that shit and held on to it. In addition, this then amplifies his Primarch aura. You see, every single one who isn't a Primarch, who meets a Primarch, gets overwhelmed by their Primarch aura. Primarchs exude this aura of just magnanimity, invincibility, whatever it is. Sangi though, most likely because of his psychic powers, is able to control that shit. He is able to increase its strength. It is said that whenever Sanguinius walks, everyone just lights up. It's like that one scene from Lord of the Rings where Prince Imrahil just walks through and everyone is happy, and the moment he leaves they all just go quiet. Sanguinius can do that, but he can also make it incredibly fucking scary as well. Remember, Sanguinius is an angel and a demon both. He can flip between the two sides depending on who it is, and we see that during Titan Death in the Battle of Beta Garmin, Sanguinius did some fucking wild shit. He was a monster on the battlefield, even during the Siege of Terra. The shit that he did there was beyond wild. Again, because of his psychic nonsense, he also has empathic abilities. Sanguinius was said to feel a connection with each one of his sons on an intimate level that no other Primarch could boast. And this is true because Sanguinius literally had a psychic connection with each one of his sons. This was so strong that Sanguinius could literally feel each and every time one of his sons died, and was quoted as saying that it was like a feather plucked from his wings. And the best thing about this, or the worst thing as it turned out to be, was that the connection went both ways. His sons could feel him. So much so that when Sanguinius died, the psychic backlash created the Black Rage. Also, the Red Thirst. Again, standard Blood Angel PSA, Red Thirst and Black Rage are not the same thing. They are closely linked to one another, but not exactly the same. The Red Thirst is inherent to the Blood Angels and thus Sanguinius' gene seed. The thirst for blood, an overactive omophagia gland. They are vampires that drink blood. However, this thing leads to battle lust. This battle lust can then induce the Black Rage. The Black Rage is psychic trauma caused when Sanguinius died, and his death was imprinted on the gene seed of every single Blood Angels via the psychic link. They go crazy and they believe that there is Sanguinius fighting Horus. Insert "you can't hide Horus" meme here. Of course, I don't have to mention how this connects to his legion. Literally one of the strongest psychic legions, Red Thirst, Black Rage, psychic connection, angels, demons, constant struggle, that's there. I also don't really need to talk about how the fact that this relates to his character. Sanguinius struggles with everything. Why? Because he's supposed to be an angel. He's also built to be the perfect everything dude. But he just wants to be a good guy and is forced into stuff that he just doesn't like. And he has to cope with the fact that, hey, my sons are like this because of me, when in reality it's not really his fault, but he feels for it. This then leads him into sickness, yada yada yada, and he dies. Because he's the perfect dude. But what makes him so sympathetic is that unlike Fulgrim, he's not trying to be perfect. He just ends up being perfect and he's like, I'm just a guy. And that's why we love him so much. But what I really want to focus on is that how each and every single one of these are connected to his psychic gifts. Again, Sanguinius and by extension the Blood Angels, one of the strongest psychic legions, together with the White Scars and the Thousand Suns, top tier psychers. And this psychic power connects to every single one of his abilities. It connects to his whole gene seed. Sanguinius was meant to be an angel. Angels, as commonly, are meant to fight demons. Yet, demons are fallen angels. Demons come from the warp. So, angels would also be from the warp. We know that with the Emperor's living saints, they draw their powers from the warp as well. Sanguinius was created to be an angel. Specifically, he was created to inherit the powers of the battles between the Black and the Gold Angel. TLDR, gods that have been fighting each other for thousands of years and the Blood Angels are latest successors, I covered more in depth in my Blood Angels video linked here. Sanguinius was created specifically to be an angel, hence why all his shit relates to him being an angel, and thus being warp-based. Because again, demons come from the warp, so too do angels. Chew on that for a bit. But from the gilded halls of the angelic lords of the 9th, we go to the stark iron gauntleted hands of the 10th. Let's talk about Ferrus Manus. Ah yes, Verus Manus, the Gorgon, Lord of Medusa, and everyone's favorite very grumpy, very angry uncle. As I mentioned before when talking about Perty, Ferrus Manus was a master craftsman, and he could innovate pretty well. Whereas Vulcan was an artisanal mastermind genius and Mr. Peter Turbo was made to make cities, Ferrus Manus was made to innovate. Whilst he couldn't exactly match Vulcan on the making it look good, nor could he match Peter Turbo's scale, when it came to just creating brand new shit, Ferrus Manus was that guy. Not only that, but he also had a massive affinity with machines. Homie could tap into them. He had a connection with machines that was just unheard of, hence why his legion also had a connection with bionics, because, well, machines. These two combined meant that when it came to him being a master at war, oh yeah, he could. Ferrus Manus had a massive chip on his shoulder. He also had a great deal of insecurity issues. He had to be strong. He could not be weak. He couldn't be weak. Weakness was support, weakness was evil, weakness went to die. Simple as. This led him to need to be strong for his sake. He wanted to trust in his own strength. Meaning that when it came to him making war, you combine this need to be strong, physically strong, in a combination with him needing to prove himself and an affinity with machines and creating better machines at that, we then get to the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands are a pretty underrated legion, mostly because, when Ferrus died, they don't really get much and they kind of lose their shit and become absolutely debauched, debased, and hated by everybody. The Iron Hands, when they waged war, they were able to slowly eradicate bit by bit. They were undaunted destructors. Again, special pattern of Gorgon-type armor. Terminator plate, unique, different, and goddamn fucking good too. And again, this all relates to Ferrus Manus and his legion perfectly. His legion, the Iron Hands, highest use of bionics, period. They have an innate ability to understand and mastercraft everything that they touch. If it involves putting a machine to flesh or making a machine better, these are the guys. Hell, that's why they get along so well with the goddamn Mechanicus. They're basically two sides of the same goddamn coin. But as it works for his story, Ferrus Manus is able to craft, create, and innovate. He's able to make stuff that is just new. Brand fucking new. But because of this, he sees this as a weakness. Because to him, it doesn't matter what you can make, it matters what you can do alone. What you alone can do. And because of that, and his own insecurity, it completely blindsided him to the fact that he could build and make pretty much everything. This then would ultimately lead him to his downfall. When Fulgrim was like, hey, join our cause, that's not what Ferrus Manus heard. Ferrus Manus heard, hey, you're so fucking weak, you're gonna fold like a goddamn whip paper chair, come and join us, you bitch. That's what he heard. And the sheer thought that he was so weak that he would betray his morals, conviction, and his emperor drove him to an unbridled, dying rage that would eventually cost him his life, but more than that, his legion would be forever changed. We know that when he saw what his sons became in the future, homie was like, yeah, better them dead than this. But sadly, that was because of him. He never addressed the issue with the Iron Hands. He always said that after the Great Crusade he would, because he was so worried about being good, about being best. We know that when he's campaigning on 1544, he is so utterly maddened that he is behind his brothers. He's like, no, I will show the Emperor that I am the best, that I am strong, I am worth my weight. Ferrus Manus did not want praise, but he certainly didn't want to think that he was the weakest link. That's the one thing that he couldn't fucking stomach. And ultimately, that would lead to his downfall, and to his son's downfall as well. Because the flesh is weak, so trust in the coldness of steel, and the certainty of metal. And in doing so, you lose all that made you strong. Also, bonus points to Ferrus Manus and his literal iron hands. That shit's living Necron metal, by the way. Or we assume it is. It's definitely living metal and living metal Necrons. But hey, pretty fucking cool. But from the Gorgons of the 10th to the blood-crazed eaters of worlds of the 12th, let's talk about Angron. Ah yes, Mr. Angry Ron. Arguably the most sad of all the goddamn Primarchs because homie had no chance. He had no chance. He literally had no fucking chance. Also, the most ironic Primarch. Angron was created basically to be a paladin. He had empath. He could sense others' emotions, and he was built to absorb their pain. He was meant to be a shield, the warding guard, a paladin. He would protect the damages of his folks and their emotional trauma. He was meant to take the pain of others, to put it on himself, to be the shield that protects his brothers. He was meant to be a ward. His legion were meant to be noble. They were meant to take damage and then unleash a savage fury in return. How ironic. This would then be turned against him. For there was no kindness on Assyria. There was nothing. Instead, he would have his brain mutilated by sticking nails inside him. The foul mechanics of the butcher's nails. And they would cause him to feel nothing but pain. And what was supposed to be an empathic paladin, a defender of all, became naught but a blood-crazed butcher filled with pain and suffering. In addition, he was able to detect psychers. He had an innate ability to sense warp. Again, he's able to sense people, he can read people at a glance. Basically the inverse of Dragonite Khan. And the one good thing that happened when he came about the nails is that he basically became a blank. The nails, for one reason or another, amplified his ability to sense psychers, so much so that his very presence is said to cause pain to them. Again, probably not like a full-on blank, but way more than some would say like the lion. Again, with him being a defender, he also had pretty good healing powers. It's not known if this is like Fulgrim's, but it's definitely less than Vulcan, so, maybe the same as Fulgrim's, but maybe a little less. But all in all, Angron is just sad. And when it comes to his sons, well, they worship Khorne, and Khorne hates psychers, but the whole story of the 12th Legion is one of tragedy. They were supposed to be the best. They were supposed to be amazing. They were supposed to be wonderful. They were supposed to be just the dudes, right? The defenders, the shields, noble. But ultimately, they became blood-crazed butchers who were little more than madmen. No one gave them a chance. No one stuck up for them. No one was there for them. And ultimately, this led them to their doom. The story of Angron is one of tragedy. Angron did not deserve anything that happened to him. Angron deserved better, and so did his legion. And in my opinion, this is the crowning epitome of grimdark in Warhammer 40k. Someone who's meant to be a defender of others. A literal empath. The ability to sense people's emotions and help them through trials, tribulations, and trauma, was beaten, brutalized, and mutilated. Well, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. War and pain. But from the Khorne Berserkers of the 12th Legion, let's talk about everyone's favorite blueberry Romans of the 13th, with Rabbout Guilliman. Ah yes, good old Bobby G, love my boy here. Mr. Bobby G's power, the Excel spreadsheet. Now if you yawned at that, if you said Lamau, if you made a joke about that, then you're a goddamn bitch. Why? Because you clearly have never been in any type of managerial position. Weird flex? Yes, but goddammit is it right. You see, Guilliman cannot just do spreadsheet well. It is said that in basically almost every book that Guilliman's in, when someone talks about his ability to organize, they always mention one very important thing. He has a photographic memory. But not just photographic in the sense that he remembers exactly what happened, he remembers every single detail, and it does not age. Guilliman remembers every single detail of every single thing that has ever happened. If Guilliman in modern day 40k encounters a problem in a modern world, if the same issue that happened on this world happened way back when, during the Great Crusade, he will remember it as if it were yesterday. He is literally the internet. He has the power of the internet at his fingertips. Everything. He knows everything. He can take anything and make it work. He is able to organize on a level by level by level basis. He can take A, he can take B, and he can make goddamn GYX, whatever the fuck you want. If you need someone to organize something on a scale so big it breaks human comprehension, you look for none other than Mr. motherfucking Rabbout Guilliman. He is the only fucking reason why the Imperium is still together, because no one can come close to him. Even those who are said to be able to match him in a little bit of areas like Mortarion and Dawn, when it comes to the full-blown balls to the wall, this is all you need to do, even they are no match for Bobby G. When it comes to being able to analyze anything, when it comes to being able to handle information, when it comes to being able to fucking run bureaucracy and make shit work, Rabbout Guilliman is that guy. No one comes close. Yeah, it's not flashy. Yeah, it doesn't make for fun reading. Yeah, it's not all that cool. But at the end of the goddamn day, if you have somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing and who is able to manage and organize shit and not waste your life with pointless phone calls or emails, and God forbid meetings that are so unfucking necessary they feel like that one drunk aunt who's at every fucking family gathering, Rabbout Guilliman is your man. How it relates to his legion? It's the fucking Ultramarines. They are the biggest legion, they are the logistics legion, simple as. How does it relate to his character? Well, he basically has to learn that while he's able to understand a lot of things, while he's able to know a lot of things, he's still just a guy. And ultimately, the one time he gives in to his wants and desires and doesn't follow the theoretical and practical, he ends up paying the price. And he nearly ends up dying. Worse than that, he leaves the Imperium vulnerable for 10,000 years because of his pride. Also, something that may not be exclusive to Guilliman, he's able to use the Emperor's Sword, like, pretty normally. That could just be a Primarch thing, but to date he's the only Primarch to ever use the Emperor's Sword. Granted, he's the only one who's had it, but hey, maybe it could be something, maybe it could be not. But from the hallowed Senate Hall of Marc to the terrible and gaseous worlds of Barbarous, let's talk about the 14th. And Mortarion. Ah yes, Morty, everyone's favorite stinky spitey boy. Mortarion's power? Physical fucking durability. But not only durability and resistance, and lifesteal. You see, whereas Dawn is durable like a wall, in which case he just does not give a fuck, and whereas Vulcan is durable and how he's literally fucking immortal, not to mention like a dragon who'll just take your hits until eventually chomping you, Mortarion is different. Whilst innately he has the ability to take so much hits, the world that he grew on was so fucking weird and fucked up that literally the only people who could live in the high spires were basically people like the Emperor, or people who had abilities like the Emperor, with even his Primarch physiology not being able to withstand it. This further enhanced his already natural ability, as again, this time nature and nurture did not fight one another, but instead they joined forces and lo and behold, they created something altogether different. Goddamn scary. But we also know that Morty's adoptive father, eventually Nemesis, was some type of magic magician man. He had access to the warp, and he did teach Morty some things. But over here, we see that Mortarion has the ability to sap strength. I say lifestyle, it's not exactly that, but even before Morty became a Demon Primarch, he had the ability to drain away people and add it to his own strength. And we see this directly stated in Warhawk. The Death Lord absorbed every strike that connected, sucking the power out of the blows like a leech, taking the hits and coming back for more. Of all the three defensive legions, you want to talk about slow, grinding, inexorable decay? That is the Death Guard. That is Mortarion. Morty literally is meant to endure. Unlike Vulcan, who is literally waiting for the right time to hit you hard, or Dawn, who literally just does not give a fuck, Mortarion is slowly eating you away. Not only is he outlasting you, every time you hit him, you're giving him strength. He is slow, grinding, and inexorable. Mortarion is decay. Mortarion is entropy, because the harder you fight against him, the worse it gets for you. Like quicksand sucking down a victim, slowly but surely you will be absorbed by the Lord of Death. And how this connects to his legion? Death God. Literally, they spread death. Pre-heresy? Fire exterminatus and virus bombs. Post-heresy? By their literally stinking innards. They will slowly kill you, not with blade, not with bolter, but by their sheer fucking presence. And how it relates to his character? Well, fucking perfectly. Morty was an arrogant little whiny bitch. And this arrogance translated into him being able to endure fucking everything. And granted, the arrogance was earned, he was fucking tanky as shit. But lo and behold, when we get to the betrayal of Typhus, his ability to endure, his son's ability to endure so much, drove them more and more and more into the arms of Nurgle. He, blinded by his arrogance, blinded by his own self-righteous bullshit, failed to see anything else but his own power. And lo and behold, when he was placed into a situation where his own power was a weakness rather than strength, he fell. He fell. And he fell so far, so hard, and so fast, he became the one thing he wanted to destroy. Irony. Terrible, terrible mistress in 40k, but goddammit is she ever right. But from the Lords of Death of the 14th to the Arcana Mage Kings of Prospero, let's talk about the 15th Legion, and Magnus the Red. Magnus, Magic Man, the literal most powerful psyker of all the Primarchs, and pretty much just as powerful as the Emperor, or maybe a slightly less. You see, Magnus was meant to sit upon the Golden Throne. He was meant to be the Lord Architect. He was meant to keep the webway safe, he was meant to watch over everyone, he was meant to simply be the guy. The age-old magical philosopher king interred upon a throne of gold, able to spread his wisdom and keep the darkness at bay. Or at least that's what it is according to the Emperor. Some people think he was just meant to be a magic battery, and another reason why he wanted to betray the Emperor. Again, don't really know, could be either one. It's the Emperor, so probably the latter, but hey, who knows. In addition to this, his psychic ability led him to be a master of biomancy, aka the ability to physically change himself. He can change his appearance on pretty much anything, and he can grow to be the size of a titan. We also know he has the ability to shapeshift because of this, as when Horus is being tricked by Erebus, Magnus appears to him in the guise of a wolf, and slowly then transforms into himself. Could this just be psychic nonsense? Probably, but given how Erebus couldn't do it, I would wager the other. But basically, Magnus is magic. He is a master of arcane arts, period. And people seem to forget he's a fucking good fighter because of that. The Emperor is a beast in combat. Due in no small part to his own magic prowess. Magnus is as good. This means that he has nearly the same physical prowess. Again, Leman Russ only managed to lose to him because of a lucky strike from his wolves, not to mention Magnus was surrounded by blanks. Literal blanks, the antithesis of psychers, and homie still pulled out. But in regards to his legion is a legion of psychics and sorcerers, and they share all of their father's psychic attunement, but also the arrogance that it caused. Magnus was arrogant. He believed that he knew everything. He believed that he was the guy, he was Magic Man, he knew every single thing, and lo and behold, his greatest act, what he thought was him saving the Imperium, caused it to be doomed. And what was supposed to be a throne of gold, one of goodness, one of nobility, one of promise and one of future, was turned into one of decay, one of stagnation, one of holding back the tide of evil. And it was all his fault. And his sons would make the same mistake with the rubric of Ahriman, transforming anyone who wasn't a great psychic lord into naught but dusty automata. That was the issue. That was the problem. Arrogance, believing that they were the best, the mage lords, the sorcerer kings of Prospero, the philosopher greats of that most hallowed of city. In the end, they were just playthings being manipulated and used by far older and far more wiser, if not more cunning deities. And lo and behold, it took their toll. But from the sorcerer lords of the 15th to the wolves of Luna and their very charismatic Primarch, Horus Lupercal. Not really much to say about Horus except that he was insanely charismatic. Not only that, but he was a master manipulator. Not only that, but he had an ability to read and understand situations. Some people say that this made him a master manipulator, other people say that just made him a good statesman. That's kind of up to judgment. It depends on what you define as being manipulative. But regardless of whether you think it was good or bad, the fact of the matter is, Mr. Horus Lupercal, he knew how to handle people. He had the innate ability to understand people. He had the innate ability to set out the chessboard. The reason the Emperor made him the War Master is because he knew that without a single shroud of a doubt, it doesn't matter if it's bad, good, or anything in between, he would get it done because he would get the people to do what they need to. He could wrangle his brothers like no other. He had the ability to coerce people, and if need be, even against their very own will. Not by force of magic, not by some crazy power, but simply with a silver tongue dripping with venom. That was Horus Lupercal. And this is interesting because his sons weren't really super charismatic. Some of them could be, but they could also be really brutish and brass in equal measure. But in regards to the character, Horus was the guy. He was used to being in control. He was used to being his father's firstborn. He was also kind of insecure. He wanted to be the spotlight. He wanted to be the one and only. He wanted to be known. He wanted that. And lo and behold, it was this desire that would cause him to fall. Because Erebus would show him that he was absent. He didn't notice the other 8 Primarchs missing. he only noticed that he alone wasn't there. There was no him, and lo and behold, he became a self-fulfilling prophecy that ultimately would not just damn him, erase his whole legion in every single aspect, both Lunar Wolves and Sons of Horus both, but ultimately turn the galaxy into damnation and hellfire. And in the end, no one won, because no one got what they wanted. But from the Hounds of Luna to the bearers of the most true and certainly not heretical word, Lorgar Aurelian. Ah yes, big old Mr. Preacher Man himself, Lorgar's power, the power of the yap. Not even joking, by the way. If you want to talk about really good orators, top 3 would go as follows. Bobby G, number 3, because, well, he's Roman, duh. They literally have sports about speaking, not even joking. We then have Magnus, because he's a philosopher. Philosophers know how to talk good shit. At least when he's not sucking his own dick with how arrogant he can be. And at number 1, who can talk better than a fucking preacher man? Lorgar has the power of oratory. Lorgar can suck in whole crowds. He was able to turn a world of religion, deep-rooted thousands of years of religion, into believing something completely different. He is charming. He can talk to people. He can captivate people. He is a master of yap. Whereas Horus does that and he uses his silver tongue to manipulate or concern or converse people into ways that benefit him, Lorgar is fueled by zeal. He is able to inspire zealotry and loyalty in all those, because unlike Horus, Lorgar generally believes what's going on. He believes in everything he says. He is a preacher man convicted by zeal and faith, and people can hear, people can see. He believes, and so will you. But it wasn't just his ability to speak that was psychically enhanced. He also had the ability to exude a golden light, an ability that was shared by only the Emperor and Malcador. Not to mention, when he gave into the ruinous powers, he became one hell of a fucking potent psyker, easily on par with Sanguinius and Magnus. He also had the second sight. Lorgar was a man who was connected to faith. Faith is connected to one's soul, meaning that when he encountered Fulgrim and Arjotel, both of them who had demons in them, he could see right through them. And not just, oh, I sense a presence in the warp. It's like, no, I see you, motherfucker, clear as day. In addition to this, he has faith. He was able to understand some of the darkest secrets of the universe, gaze into literal hell, and be untroubled. Say what you will about Lorgar, for someone who is the most chaotically involved, he's one of the most sane Primarchs. Yes, I know that's saying a lot. Primarchs are not normally very sane. And all this is because Lorgar is a man of faith. What is the difference between faith and hope? Hope is the belief in something that can happen. That's why we hope in a fellow man. Faith, though, faith is the belief in something that shouldn't happen. That's why we can only place our faith in God. Lorgar believes everything, and he's able to get other people to believe what he says. So too do his sons. Arguably, out of all the legions, it's the Wordbearers that most closely match their Primarch's power. The Wordbearers are the preacher boys. They are the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are whatever meme you want to call them. They convince people to join chaos. Not just convincing people to join chaos so they can use them, but genuinely making them believe in the true word of the ruinous powers. And as to how it relates to his own story, Lorgar needed faith. Lorgar was someone who gave himself wholly to the Emperor. The Emperor shunned him, and he realized something. The Emperor was a god, just not one worthy of worship. So he found the only other alternative, and, lo and behold, he chose to worship these gods, and they readily accepted him, despite everything in the contrary to it. Lorgar is a man of faith, and when that faith is broken, that man is broken, and left as nothing, but it is by that faith that one can rebuild. But when you have nothing at all, you would accept any hand given unto you, even if that hand happened to be a devil. For if God rejects you, well hell, is the devil really all that bad? But from the preacher boys of the 17th to the dragons of the 18th, let's talk about Vulcan. Vulcan's power? Big hugs. That or just being a nice, normal, decent, kind person. If any one of you motherfuckers mentions that Eldar Child, we've been over this at least 3 separate times, I'm going to hurt you. But that nonsense withstanding, Vulcan's true superpower is twofold. One, he's a perpetual, making him the most durable and tankiest of all the Primarchs. Which, ironically, the first time he found out about this wouldn't be a boon, it would be actually a super big curse, because, you know, Conrad and, well, that. But aside from Vulcan being literally immortal, he also has the ability of craftsmanship. As I mentioned with the other 3 big boys, Ferrus Manus, innovation, number 1. Mr. Peter Turbo, the sheer scale of it. Vulcan, though, Vulcan can make unique things. Literally anything. Vulcan has the abilities to craft weapons that just shouldn't exist. For example, a hammer that has a teleportation device that can translate him across the galaxy, or the Talisman of 7 Hammers, which allows him to translate via the webway and also allows him to destroy all of Terra with one click of a button. It does not matter what it is, it doesn't matter how crazy it is, it doesn't matter how much bullshit it is. If you have an idea, Vulcan can and will make it. Vulcan is a mastercraft artisan. He is a blacksmith of epic proportions. Vulcan has the ability to make anything, any type of technology, anything at all. He has the power to do anything at his fingertips. That includes destroying. Vulcan has the ability to destroy, not only in his rage. It's quoted as much by Ferrus Manus, one of the most candid Primarchs there is aside from Rogul Dawn, that Vulcan is a destroyer. We see this in Mercy of Dragon. Even the Emperor is like, yeah, no, his rage is pretty crazy. Not only does Vulcan have the ability to rip anything apart, he has the ability to make a tool that can do anything. If Vulcan wanted to, he could make world-ending devices, not even world-ending, galaxy-ending theoretically. In fact, it's stated the only thing holding him back is materiel, meaning that in theory, if he, as well as Peter Turbo and Ferrus Manus got together, they could literally make a universe-killing device. But Vulcan is given this ability for one reason, and one reason alone. Because he hates it. Vulcan at his heart is the kindest, most gentlest, nicest Primarch. He also despises the idea of a destruction. He despises the ability of unmaking. He hates everything that comes with being a destroyer. It's something that he actually struggles with during the Great Crusade. That's why the Salamanders were often as protectors, because it's something that they could understand. But being a destroyer, Vulcan would embrace it, yes, but he also struggled with it. It wasn't something that he took to immediately. It was much more a sense of duty, out of loyalty and protection, than any really want or desire of it. And that is what Vulcan is. His character is him learning about this, him coming to terms with it and accepting it, and ultimately, at the Siege of Terra, realizing that it is his duty above all. Vulcan's story is one of endurance, one of trial, one of hardship, and ultimately understanding. And how it relates to his sons? The Salamanders are the greatest craftsmen of all the Astartes. They have some of the best weapon, arms, and gear of any Astartes, and they too have to come to terms with their nature. They're kind of like the Blood Angels in that sense, where they're pretty dual-sided, loving, caring, warm, just like a house fire of a hearth, but in the same vein, they hold the wrathful destruction of the salamander, the ability to spew forth fire and ruin settlements. Also, with them being the tankiest space marines in terms of sheer physical durability and prowess, well, that could be a thing from the perpetuality, or maybe just Vulcan is big, black, and chungus. Either one works. But all in all, the way that Vulcan relates to his sons, the way that it relates to his story and his character overall, it makes sense. Also, with him being perpetual, I feel like what really makes this worth it is Conrad Kurz's torture scene and the whole book from Vulcan Lives. If that wasn't a thing, the perpetuality would be kind of pointless, but when you take something that's a boon and turn it into a curse of the worst proportions, yeah, I like that writing. But from the fireborn of Prometheus, we then go to the Ravens of Kieva. Let's talk about Corvus Corax. Corvus Corax's power. Emo edgy teen bullshit. Lamau imagine. No, Corvus Corax can literally become invisible. He has something called a Wraith Slip, meaning that he can enter into his own private dimension and be basically invisible, undetectable by pretty much everyone. Basically, only beings on his same level, a la Dawn, can even hope to detect him. And of course, well, the Emperor and godlike beings of anyone else other than like gods or like other Primarchs, yeah, good luck seeing the bird boy. He also has complete control over his Primarch aura. With him being super stealthy, he can turn it off and on at wish. But that's what his Primarch powers were. Corvus Corax is one of those unique examples where we actually know what he is after the heresy. And it's really interesting in what other Primarchs could become. You see, Corvus Corax is currently a demonic Primarch, but a loyalist demonic Primarch. He's basically a giant murderer of crows. Literally, he is a raven demon that can consume and devour any and all. And he is obsessed with hunting down Lorgar and the Wordbearers. He is vengeance incarnate, and he is for all intents and purposes a loyalist demonic Primarch, or in this case, an angelic Primarch. Again, angels and demons, two sides of the same coin. It's interesting, because when he encounters Lorgar, and in the book in which they speak to each other, it is revealed that Corvus is just what he always was, according to him at least. Meaning that from the get-go, the Primarchs weren't beings of this realm, rather they were beings of the warp. And that makes sense, they were created using the warp, so it would make sense they would have some inherent lingering to that realm. Meaning that technically, every single Primarch has a demonic form, or a warp form I should say, but the demon Primarchs is just that they've been corrupted by the chaos part of the warp. Corvus Corax though, he is potentially the warp form, but minus the corruption. Meaning that this is what the Emperor made him to be before being placed in a material body, a material vessel. So in theory, all the other loyalist Primarchs have an Imperial form as well. And immediately my mind jumps to Vulcan with him being a literal fucking dragon. Oh my god, yes. But as to how it relates to his legion, the 19th are literally shadows. They have the uncanny ability to hide and cloak and cover themselves in all types of fashion. This extends not only to them but also their armor. Their armor is known to run basically dead silent. So much so that even someone like the Salamanders, they're impressed by the ability and the craftsmanship of it to achieve such a feat. And they take their Primarch's words to heart: stealthy, defenders, and protectors. As to how it relates to Corax's story, Corax is an interesting character. The way he translates and transforms into something over the heresy is really, really unique. He starts out as being a reluctant guy, basically lying to himself, saying that, oh no, this is necessary, this is something that has to happen, when he himself is completely against it because he's a freedom fighter. He's meant to slay tyrants, not enforce their will. But eventually he realizes that, oh no, there is worse things out there. And then he has to come to terms with the fact that, oh, everything's gone to shit now. The tyrants are winning. The tyrants have won. What happened to the Imperium? What's going on? And eventually, he realizes who he is, or rather, what he is. A warp-based entity, and he takes that to heart. He embraces it fully, and he decides that he's going to do what he was made to do. What he can do. And that is hunt tyrants. And in his mind, there is no bigger tyrant than the one who started it all. Lorgar. And as for his character of being this dark, edgy anti-hero or fallen angel villain type nonsense, yeah, no, that works. That works something fucking good, bruh. But from the bird boys of the 19th to the sneaky, I don't know what the fuck is going on boys of the 20th, let's finish off with Alpharius and Omegon. Alright, Alpharius Omegon. Alpharius Omegon is unique because we don't exactly know what their warp power was supposed to be. You see, during the scattering, which is implied to have been an accident that occurred and was something that was not planned by the Emperor, as per fucking usual, they were split into two different halves. Same soul, just cut down the middle. There's supposed to be one Primarch, and pretty fucking deadly Primarch at that. As it's said that when the two work together, they're basically unstoppable. Or near unstoppable. Basically, if the two of them working together, they can 1v1 any Primarch. You're going to need multiple Primarchs to counter them. Makes sense. But part of this is a twin sense. Alpharius and Omegon can sense each other from their birth, and, most notably, when one of them died, the other could feel it. Which one of them died? I still don't fucking know. But we see that their powers are twofold. One, they have the ability to shift and hide their appearance. It's a very similar way to the Emperor. Basically, they can change their appearance in every single aspect. Physically, psychically, emotionally, everything. They're just not there. They are what they want you to see, not what they actually are. And this actually relates to their legion. Their legion has the ability to do this to a very minor level, but they can disguise their presence of an Astartes. And Astartes by nature carries a great weight of presence, their great size withstanding. But these guys are able to suppress that and simply do what they need to do whilst in the shadows. Because if you see a big giant Chungus, you'll notice him, but you're not going to sense him. And on the flip side, Alpharius and Omegon are the only Primarchs that can actually imbue their own legionaries with a portion of their Primarch strength. Now this gives them temporary access to near Primarch strength, and allows them to transform memories. We also know that a bunch of Alpharius and Omegon's legionnaires look an awful lot like them, which give them the ability to masquerade as the real Alpharius. All in all, how this relates to their legion? It's the Alpha Legion. I am Alpharius. It's not just a meme, it's not just a war cry, it's literal. I am Alpharius, somewhat. I am a part of it, both physically, in I'm literally my father's son, and in every way I act because I'm doing what he taught me to do. In terms of Alpharius' character, well, it makes sense. The Alpha Legion lore is fucking difficult to understand on a good day, but in this regard, we see that Alpharius and Omegon are meant to be one Primarch, but because of the nonsense of the warp, they're then split into two. Because of that, they then have to operate as two separate individuals, forever draining their power from one another, not having their full might. But this is compensated by them being able to imbue their sons with that power. So instead of having one big giant super Primarch, you then have a legion capable of accessing that. So you have legionnaires that are far superior than normal. In theory, meaning that these guys could be the best Space Marines pound for pound out of everyone. That is, if they have access to the Primarch juice, which we're not really sure if they do in modern day, because, Alpha Legion lore again. But it's interesting. What was supposed to be the strongest Primarch, allegedly, was split. So, he then has to rely on his sons. And we see that in the character of the Alpha Legion, they don't rely on normal Space Marine stuff. They rely on subterfuge. They rely on stealth. They rely on mortals. They rely on themselves. They're very different. And the fact that their Primarch is the most different out of all the legions, well, that's just very Alpharius to me and very Alpha Legion. Because at the end of the day, everything about them is a lie. And that's why it holds the most truth. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there's been all the 18 Primarch powers explained. Play a long video, hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment down below, who is your favorite Primarch and which is your favorite Primarch power? Not gonna lie, I love the idea that Lorgar can just preach. It's very fitting, it's nice, I like it, it's good. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching, comment down below. I want to say a massive thank you guys for watching, but even more massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. A massive shout out to my officer corps with my amazing lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Majora of the Void. Shout out to my sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Warsmith.Fireheart, Mr. Corns Butcher, Mr. Sean RL7, Mr. Bullwin, and Mr. Matthew Merrill. Shout out to my corporal tier members, Tremail the Math Kitty, Lord Rosarius, Shauna Smithers, Tech Priest Toaster, and the Wench of Warhammer. And finally, but certainly not least, shout out to my privateer members, Mr. Thomas Was Lawns, Mr. Niva_SVW, Mr. Michael Hayeda, Mr. Dorius Kurz, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Fortusunum, Mr. Gentle Salamander, Mr. CMD Neo, Mr. Simon Kamu, Mr. Dan Marek, and Mr. Weaselhack. Thank you, each and every one of you. I love you. I appreciate you. Y'all are amazing. Mwah! Sign up today with our memberships. Bunch of awesome benefits. You don't have to pay your boy $1, but if you do, I'll love you just a little bit more, but I'll love you just the same. Maybe. Who knows? Hey! Regardless, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for making this amazing. And yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, amazing people. Thank you all so very much for watching. I'm gonna just say loyal out there, boys and gals. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss Rangers! Bro, I need to see Vulcan transform into a giant fire-breathing dragon. Please, GW, give me back my dad.